you. I'm glad you could make it, and welcome to the first wrap up of 2025, our January reading wrap up, and not just a regular wrap up, because can I just say, ratings wise, mood wise, how I feel wise, no questions asked, the best reading month of my entire life. No questions asked at all. And I feel like I've said that before, and normally I'm like, I feel like it probably is. It's up there. No, based on the ratings, this is the best reading month I think I will ever have in my entire life. It was across the board a very random month. I read a little bit of everything, but it was... I'm speechless. I'm speechless. If I could carry this energy into my everyday life for eternity, I would be the happiest human being on planet Earth. Like, not to be dramatic. I don't have a single book in here rated lower than a 4.25. I don't even think, do I even have a 4.25? I don't have a single book in here rated lower than 4.5. And I stand on all of those ratings. I've been harder about my ratings, and I stand on every single one of these. Wow. I read 10 books in the month of January. 6 were fantasy, 2 were literary fiction, 1 was traditional romance, and 1 was YA mysteries. Categories and genre-wise, we read a little bit of everything, and man, did these books show up for their genres. I'm floored. I'm floored. I don't think I've ever had this good of a reading month. I know I haven't had this good of a reading month. Every single one of these left a little bit or a massive imprint on my soul. I could talk to you about all of these for hours. I could. It may turn into that because I normally can't shut up when I'm talking about books during wrap-up, so let's just get into it. Started out the month with Slinger by Rachel Snyder. This was my book club's second December book pick. We did one Christmas book and then one normal book, and this was the normal book that won. And I did not finish it in December, and I did finish it like well into January. I was in a tiny bit of a life slump at the beginning of January. However, this, I settled on giving it a 4.5. The twist at the end, 5-star material. 5-star material. Everything about this I loved. I annotated so much of this book. I thought it was so well done. The only way I can explain my gripe with this book was there was like no interim time. Like, you know when you're reading a book and you're like getting little nuanced moments of the characters and it gives you like added plot, or like if something happens on a Monday and something happens on a Wednesday, you still get Tuesday. Even if Tuesday's not that interesting, you still get Tuesday and it makes you love the characters. We didn't get Tuesday in this. I feel like it was just thing that furthered the plot to thing that furthered the plot to thing that furthered the plot and banter. And don't get me wrong, every single moment that I checked in with my book club when I was reading this, I was like, I love it, and against my better judgment, I really care about these characters and I really care about this world, but I feel like we're missing something. Like, there were pages taken out is the best way I can explain it. Storyline wise, banter wise, character wise, romance wise, fantasy world plot development wise, I loved it. I loved it. I thought about giving it a 5, and then I sat on my rating and I was like, you did feel like pages were missing. So yeah, no, it's not a 5. That ending though, we're following Bryn, which is a part of the allll people, and basically what happened in this world is there's allll people, then the Kenta people, and I'm assuming other people, but I don't think that they really matter right now. There was a war between them, and Kenta banished all the allll people to live on the water, and they can only come to land to get supplies like once a year or something, so they essentially live on the water. What this visually looks like, I'm not 100% sure. I feel like it's boats, and like I'm picturing trees that like grow in the water, and then there's levels. It's very like up and down kind of city-wise. All they can do is fish. That's the only access they have to resources. And Bryn is best friends with the commander's son. But the very first time that she gets to land, because they get to go once when they're like graduating their training school essentially. I don't even know why I try to explain fantasy plots because we are so out of left field. We're so out of left field right now. The very first time that she gets on land, Kai, her best friend, that commander's son, says something to her and she ends up running off and ends up being alone. And this guy who works for the Kenta people sees her and makes something up to arrest her, but then her hand touches stone and she feels a sharp pain and he clearly feels something too, and she has no idea what that means, right? Yeah, none of us have any idea what that means. And maybe that guy isn't who he says he is, and maybe she isn't who she thinks she is, and maybe we get a whole plot from there with a very unique, fun world and magic system. Then, in a twist of fate, because I didn't know when I was ever gonna pick this up because I was intimidated, I will not lie. I really wanted to love it, but then I filmed my best books of 2024 video, and I did pick up Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, and my feelings on this are still kind of undecided, which it's been a very long time since I finished this, but I still feel a little bit undecided because I did enjoy the reading experience of this. I thought it was well done. I thought it was like very thought-provoking, very interesting. I annotated so many thoughts in this. I connected to Ivan a lot in this, like a lot more than I was expecting. A lot of his tangents and like discussions that he went through, I feel like I've had in a car with my boyfriend, and I felt seen by that in a lot of ways. And I like that this book didn't try to give you any answers. Like, it was more just like normal people living normal lives in wake of their father passing away. Two very different, very estranged brothers. We have Ivan and we have Peter. I will say the no quotation marks was a little bit confusing, especially in Peter's perspective, because sometimes he would think something that was not in quotation marks, but then he'd be like, I'm not going to say that, and then the person would respond. And I was like, so did say that I really understand and appreciate Sally Rooney's writing style. Ivan is like a chess genius. Peter is like the lawyer who's always done things the right way. He's social. He's always trying to fit in, but Ivan always sees him as like he thinks he's better than me. And Ivan's never really had like a love line, right? So we're getting so much about these characters all encompassing. I said while I was reading this that I was like, I thought it's interesting that their fathers passed away, but it doesn't really seem to pertain to the story. But then when I finished it, my overwhelming thought was kind of really unique and beautiful how Sally Rooney made the fact that the father passed away important to the story, but also very realistic, because like life has to go on and life has to move on. We have to deal with things in wake of grief. And in the end, this is a story of two brothers who lost their dad and everything that happened in wake of that. My only fault with this book, my only issue with this book is that I felt very, very dark and heavy reading it. I felt very weighed down, is the best way I can explain it. It wasn't overwhelmingly emotional, but the whole thing had this like line of darkness and like heaviness. Darkness is the wrong word. It just felt heavy reading it. Like I felt heavy leaving this book, but I really, really appreciate it for what it was. And I think about these characters and this writing and this story and the things that it made me think, like the thoughts it provoked in me a lot. It did not give me 5-star feelings, but I really, really respect it, and I did give it 4.5. Then came A Song to Drown Rivers, which I didn't even know that I was searching for, and I was searching for a very sweet, cute, well done standalone fantasy that is like 300-ish pages. See, I knew I needed this in my life, and then I started reading it and I was like, I needed you. I didn't even know I was looking for you, and I have been looking for you. My absolute favorite thing about this book is that we have a really strong female main character. She's not like your typical warrior type. She is going in and she is a part of the action, and she is very integral to this plan to defend her kingdom. But it's so much about her emotional experience in this situation and how she connects with people and what she uses as a woman to her advantage. It's so fun reading a fantasy with a woman training or going into battle or being a badass, but it's sometimes a nice break or sometimes a nice change of pace when you get a character who is as grossed out by blood as I am. Our main character's sister died in front of her from a rival kingdom, and our main character's like one thing about her is that she is oh so very beautiful, as beautiful as they come, which you would think would get old, but I will say it was so integral to the plot that I didn't think it got old how much she was like, and I'm just so beautiful. When one day her kingdom's king advisor came to her and was like, we have a plan, we want to infiltrate the enemy's palace and we are going to send you as a wife, and it kind of all goes from there. It doesn't do it all what you think it's going to do. The end is heart-shattering, and you think you know what it's going to do, and you think you know how you're going to feel about people, and you think you know how she's going to feel about people, and it does not do what you think it's going to do, and it left a burning impact on me. It did. The tears in this, the middle was a teeny tiny bit repetitive, but it really added to the end and made the end make sense, so I don't fault it, but for that, 4.75. Now enters the reread in anticipation for a new release, and that is in fact Iron Flame. And I will say, I originally rated this like in my mind like a 4.5, 4.75, because I was like, it did feel a little long. You know, it did feel a little bit long. I feel like it was a teeny tiny bit repetitive. However, on the reread, these characters are real humans. They have to be. Like, I love them in a way that there's just no way they're not real. Upon the reread, 5 stars. I listened to this on audio, and I listened to it every waking moment that I had, that I was not doing something else, I was not reading something else, I was in this world. And the audiobook of this was so good. The way that I sobbed in the car so many times, it's embarrassing. It's like literally embarrassing. I also do a lot of my rereads not on 2 times speed or like 2.5 times speed. I do a lot of them like at a normal speed, because then it's like I'm listening to a podcast and it's like my entertainment. I love it more on the reread than I ever could have imagined. The Ministry of Time by Kellyanne Bradley. I put off reading this for so long, not on purpose. I knew I was really gonna love it. Well, I really thought I was really gonna love it. I mean, you guys know I rated all the books this month high, so I can't even hold suspense and say like I thought I was gonna love it, because you know I loved it, okay? This is a very predictable month, but I think you should read every single one of the, okay. I knew I wanted this to be in a video, and I just never had a video that it fit into, and then it was in that Indigo box, and it was one of 2024's top reads, and it wasn't at all what I was expecting, but it was somehow still so beautiful and amazing, and it was a resounding 5-star read for me. But I don't know who I would recommend this to, in that it is so unique. We're following an unnamed main character, which like feels very integral to the plot. Like that was something I noticed right away, and it ended up carrying forward in the book in a way that I've never seen carry forward in a book. But she is a bridge for an expat from the past, and I really appreciated that in this book she broke the fourth wall and was like, hey, when you think about time travel too much, you get like really lost in the physics of it all. So just know all you need to know. Don't go beyond this. Britain found time travel. We solved the problem of time travel, and we're bringing people back. Can I tell you my story now? That's kind of all you need to know. The fourth wall breaks in this actually, I really feel like drove the story. There were so many moments in this that were fourth wall breaks, that what she said in them, it made you be like, okay, wait, this story is important. Like you are telling me this story, not just like you're reading a book. Like this is a character telling you a story. But now that Britain has solved the problem of time travel, they're going to the past to to bring people to the future, like the moment that they would have passed away, so that it like doesn't mess up any time space continuum things. But they also have to make sure that their person can acclimate when they get here. So these bridges, like our narrator, are their built-in assistant, live-in best friend, everything. They're just with them for this year while they're adjusting to being in the future. There was so much about this that was funny, trying to explain to like a Navy guy from the 1900s modern day dating. Like there was a lot of that in it that was very funny, but also what Kellyanne Bradley does with the English language was so interesting. Like she explained things in a way that I was like, I know exactly what you're thinking. Never ever would have thought to use those words to do it. However, it's, yeah, you got it dead on. And it was so much more emotional than I was expecting. And like what happens in this is what would happen if this were to happen. Like if you were to put two characters together in a house, one from the past, one dealing with a lot of self-identity issues and how they want to present in the world and what their mark on the world will be, put them in a house together, and unless they actually hate each other, this feels like what would happen. Even though this whole concept is very out of left field, it just was so beautifully written and very impactful. It is a book that I will be recommending till my dying breath, to be honest. Then we read for 24 hours straight, and I started it off with a romance, which I pretty much always do, and I knew in my heart of hearts that I would find a 5-star Annabelle Monaghan. I love the way that she writes. I love the way that she conveys emotions. I like that her writing is so flowery and beautiful but punchy. When another author would take like a full paragraph to describe something, she does it somehow just as well in a sentence that's like, that needs to be annotated. I love that. And because her stories are so short, I think it's just a matter of what characters you connect to the most. And these are the characters that I connected to the most. 5 motherfucking stars. Look at the annotations in here. Yeah. No, it's every single page. 1, love the way that Annabelle Monaghan writes. 2, I'm obsessed with how she creates characters and how realistic they feel and how they just feel a little bit different than your typical rom-com kind of book. The sobs that I sobbed reading this. Our main character writes fluffy little Hallmark-esque screenplays. However, she had a shitty, and can I emphasize shitty, husband who walked out on the family, which is kind of a blessing in disguise. But in wake of that, she wrote kind of a more dramatic, more emotion-filled, more heavy screenplay, and Big Time Hollywood was like, we want that, we want that. So she sold it, and they are now filming that movie on her property, her perfect little country house, beautiful, perfect everything home. That's where they are filming it, and the biggest actor in the world is playing the guy, right? But he gets there and he's like, I kind of like it here, I kind of like it here, and he doesn't leave. And Nora's like, babe, you gotta go, the movie's over, we're done with this now. And he's like, I have never felt connected to nature in the way that I do here. Please, I will pay you rent, let me stay here. And it all goes from there. And the children in this book, I don't know who I would recommend this to because it's really, really heavy on what feels like miscommunication, and like the middle part, the ending might not be satisfying for everyone. It wouldn't be everyone's favorite Annabelle Monaghan book. It was for me. I love that Annabelle Monaghan's female main characters are like the plot of the story. They are the story. Their families, their purpose are themselves, and then the men that are in the story are like additions. It really feels like these people are additions to the female main character's life, and in this one, especially the children, how they connected to the story, her love for her children. I could cry thinking about it. Now, see, I told you I wasn't gonna shut up about literally any of these. I can't believe I haven't even talked about this yet. This is becoming my new obsession. The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen. Nobody told me. I'm angry at the internet for nobody telling me that this is as good as it is. This single-handedly brings back yearning. And I'm not even trying to be dramatic. This series is single-handedly bringing back yearning. I started this like hee hee ha ha, it'll be fun. You know, like I'll get in there. And halfway in, I was like, no, I'm obsessed. Yeah, no, I'm actually obsessed. This is the best political intrigue I think that I have ever read. We're in a world that doesn't have any magic, but it's still a fantasy. Hang in with me there. We are dual POV, and our female main character, Lara, is from Maradrina. Now, Lara is one of many sisters who were taken when they were 5 years old to train and train and train to be the wife for the king in Ithaca, because there is a 15-year treaty that was drawn up between Ithaca and Maradrina 15 years ago that in 15 years they would send a bride and there would be a treaty between the two people. However, Maradrina was not really acting in good faith. No, because he trained his daughters to be the best assassins, and Lara schemed her way into being that bride. And the reason we hate Ithaca is because they are the Bridge Kingdom, hence the title. They have sovereignty over the bridge that connects the two continents, but Ithaca is literally just a collection of islands, and they are constantly staving off war because obviously everybody wants the bridge, right? Lara's been raised that Ithaca is the worst people in the entire world. Aaron just wants his people to have a better life. The yearning in this book, the political intrigue in this book, just as good as a fantasy with a crazy magic system, and it was so perfectly balanced with like political intrigue and plot and fantasy world, as well as with this yearning and this romance that I will never get over. No, I literally will never get over. And the only reason that this gets a 4.5 because I knew the series was going to continue to get better. And if the next book was better, it's not like I could give it 5.5. If this was a standalone and we weren't left on a cliffhanger that would make me hate it, this would be a 5. I finally read The Reappearance of Rachel Price, and I was saving this book for a rainy day. And let me tell you, when I picked this up, it was a proverbial rainy day. It was. If you watch a 24-hour reading video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The way that Holly Jackson writes and her YA true crime-esque books just make me feel safe, and I'm in a cozy blanket, and there's no other way for me to explain it. So I was saving this because I didn't want to not have a book that would do that to me when I needed it. You know what I mean? However, I knew that she was coming with a new book this year, and I was like, I'll be okay. You know, I will have another book to add to my shelf. And I have now officially read every single book that Holly Jackson has put out. Belle's mom went missing when she was 2 years old, and everyone has always said that she is Rachel Price's daughter and her dad is Rachel Price's husband. But now, 16 years later, this film crew has come and they're filming a documentary about the disappearance of Rachel Price, and Belle kind of wants something to do with it. She doesn't even like referring to that woman as her mom. She doesn't know what's going on. So when she runs off set one day and sees a woman and goes, Rachel Price? So now the documentary that was the disappearance of Rachel Price is now the reappearance of Rachel Price, and we're grappling with a lot in this. And obviously it's Holly Jackson, so it is going to be a fun, airtight YA true crime-esque mystery of trying to figure out who done it, what's going on. I will say Belle and another character in this were very reminiscent of Pip and Ravi in this book for me, which just like made my heart happy in a way that I cannot explain. I suspected everyone. And this was a 4.75. Do you get what I'm saying about like best reading month ever? Best reading month ever. Like I can't even talk about this one. I'm like not recovered. I don't feel well. I'm unwell. All I do with my days right now is watch fan edits and watch fan theories. And I have like literally 2 brain cells up there, and I love watching other people's fan theories, and I do have some theories of my own. I'm just here for the ride. You know what I mean? 5 stars, 6 stars across the board. This is an immaculate 3rd book in the series. I can't talk about this without talking about it for far too long. I did post my theories and ideas on TikTok, so if you finish this and you're interested in that, that is there. But I literally can't get into it. I like literally don't know how we're supposed to wait for the next book in the series. And it felt like the 3rd book in a series. It felt like we got so many answers. Not all of them, don't get me wrong. We still have so many questions, but we got so many answers and inklings towards information, and we saw so much of this world. Violet and Zayden. Because I said it was my new obsession series, I did in fact read The Traitor Queen by Danielle L. Jensen. Yep, I am at the Bridge Kingdom stan, okay? I know that these are different sets of duologies, so then the next 2 books in the series follow different characters, which is a character that we met in this book, and then the 5th and the 6th follow. It's a bunch of duologies. This world, these characters was so well done. This was 5 stars. The balance between the angst, the yearning, the romance, all of that, with the political intrigue, the scheming, all of that, perfect. Perfect across the board. And what made this so good was I literally did not know how they could come back from this. I did not know how we could possibly get a happy ending in this book the entire time. I was stressed and anxious reading this because I love them in a way that is unhealthy. I love them in a way that is unhealthy, but I just didn't see a way forward. I did not see a way forward, and throughout it, the characters, the yearning, the ride or die of it all. And they're not like 800 pages long with the most convoluted, complicated magic system ever. They're just so well done. Oh my god, they're so good. And on that note, I will stop with the dramatics. Yeah, I feel like this was just 20 minutes of me yelling at you to read these books, and I kind of stand by it because I think you should read these books. I mean, I had the best reading month ever, and now it feels like from January it's only downhill. It's just downhill. There's just no way that I could get a reading month this good ever again in my life. I hadn't thought about that till right now. Now I'm like honestly a little bit sad. I want to keep this feeling for the rest of my life. Let me know if you guys have read any of these and what you thought of them, or if you're going to be adding all of them to your TBR. I know I normally say like which one are you gonna add to your TBR, but no, you have to add all of them. I was gonna say I don't make the rules, I just enforce them, but no, I made this rule and I'm enforcing it. We have class on Monday, okay? Read up. Okay, sorry, not to be demanding. I feel passionately about it. Love you. Bye. You can take this moment right now to screenshot it so you have all the titles here, just for your next shopping trip, okay? Thank you.